It was supposed to be a perfect Saturday, the kind of day that Jennifer had been looking forward to all week. The sun was shining bright over Ocean Crest Beach. The sky was that perfect shade of blue without a single cloud, and the temperature was just right. Not too hot, not too cool. Her two daughters, Lily and Sophie, had been begging to go to the beach for weeks, and finally, the whole family had a free weekend. Jennifer stood at the edge of the water, watching her girls jump over the small waves as they rolled in. Their laughter was the kind of pure, unfiltered joy that only children can express. Sophie, the younger one at 6 years old, shrieked every time the cold water touched her feet. Lily, who was 9 and trying to act more grown-up, pretended she wasn't bothered by the cold, but Jennifer could see her flinch too. "Mom, come in. The water's amazing," Lily called out, waving her arms. Jennifer's husband, Robert, was setting up their beach umbrella and chairs further up on the sand. He looked up and smiled, giving her an encouraging nod. She kicked off her sandals and walked toward the water. The sand was warm under her feet, almost too warm, and she quickened her pace toward the cooler, wet sand near the shoreline. The first wave that hit her ankles took her breath away. It was much colder than she expected, but her daughters were watching, waiting for her to join them, so she pushed forward. Within minutes, all 3 of them were waist-deep in the water, jumping and playing as the waves came in. Jennifer had applied sunscreen that morning, maybe a bit too much. Her hands still felt slippery from it. She hadn't thought much about it at the time. Why would she? She was just focused on making sure the girls didn't get sunburned. They played for maybe 20 minutes. The water was rough that day, rougher than usual. The waves were strong, pushing and pulling. At one point, a particularly big wave came, and Jennifer lifted Sophie up so she wouldn't go under. The cold water rushed past them, spraying salt water everywhere. That's when she felt it. A slight sensation on her left hand. Something wasn't right. She looked down at her hand and her heart stopped. Her wedding ring was gone. For a second, she couldn't process it. She stared at her bare finger, at the pale line where the ring had been for the past 15 years. The ring had never come off. Not once in all those years. She had worn it through pregnancies, through weight gain and weight loss, through everything. It had always been there. "No, no, no, no," she whispered, her voice shaking. She plunged her hands into the water, feeling around desperately in the sand beneath her feet. Maybe it had just slipped off. Maybe it was right there. Maybe she could find it right away. "Mom, what's wrong?" Lily asked, noticing the panic on her face. "My ring. My wedding ring." "It came off," Jennifer said, trying to keep her voice steady but failing. The panic was rising in her chest like a wave itself. Sophie started to cry, picking up on her mother's distress. Lily's eyes went wide. Jennifer dropped to her knees in the water, running her fingers through the sand, searching. But the waves kept coming, pushing new sand over where she was looking, pulling the old sand away. It was impossible. The ocean floor was constantly moving. "Robert!" she screamed toward the shore. "Robert!" He must have heard the terror in her voice because he was running toward them immediately. When he reached them, Jennifer was still on her knees in the water, tears streaming down her face. "It's gone. My ring is gone. It slipped off," she said, her voice breaking. Robert understood immediately how serious this was. This wasn't just any ring. It had belonged to Jennifer's grandmother first. Her grandmother had worn it for 47 years of marriage. When she passed away, she left it to Jennifer's mother. And when Jennifer got married, her mother had given it to her on the morning of her wedding day. "Here, on your wedding day, just like my mother gave it to me," her mother had said, slipping it onto Jennifer's finger. 3 generations of love. Keep it safe, and Jennifer had. For 15 years, she had kept it safe. Until today, Robert immediately started searching too. He sent the girls back to the beach chairs and told them to stay there. Then he and Jennifer searched together. They dug through the sand, feeling with their hands, looking with their eyes. The water was murky from all the sand they were disturbing. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack, except the haystack was constantly moving. Other beachgoers noticed what was happening. A young couple came over and asked if they could help. Then an older man with a metal detector joined in. Soon there were 7 or 8 people searching in the area where Jennifer thought she had lost it. "What does it look like?" the man with the metal detector asked. "Gold band, simple design with 3 small diamonds across the top," Jennifer described, her voice hollow. "There's an inscription inside that says, 'Forever. Yours with my husband's initials and our wedding date.' The Man nodded and started sweeping his metal detector over the area. Beep, beep, beep. Every time it made a sound, Jennifer's heart jumped. But each time it was just a bottle cap or a coin or a piece of trash. They searched for hours. The sun that had seemed so perfect that morning now beat down mercilessly. Jennifer's skin was burning, but she didn't care. She couldn't leave. She couldn't give up. Robert tried to get her to take a break, to drink some water, to sit in the shade for a few minutes. But she refused. How could she rest when her ring was somewhere in this sand? As the afternoon wore on, the tide started coming in. The water was getting higher, covering more of the beach. The area where they were searching was now underwater. The man with the metal detector shook his head sadly. "The tide's coming in too strong now," he said gently. "I'm sorry, but maybe you can come back tomorrow at low tide and try again." Jennifer felt like she couldn't breathe. Tomorrow? How could she wait until tomorrow? What if the ocean carried it away? What if it was already gone forever? The other helpers started to leave, offering sympathetic smiles and words of encouragement. "Don't give up. Maybe it'll turn up. I'll pray you find it." But their kindness only made Jennifer feel worse. By sunset, it was just Jennifer and Robert left. The girls were tired and hungry and sunburned despite the sunscreen. They needed to go home. Robert put his arm around Jennifer's shoulders. "Honey, we have to go. It's getting dark. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll search again," he said softly. Jennifer looked out at the water, at the waves that had taken her most precious possession. She felt a sob rising in her throat. It wasn't just about the money, though the ring was valuable. It wasn't even just about losing a beautiful piece of jewelry. It was about what that ring represented. 3 generations of women in her family, her grandmother's love, her mother's blessing, 15 years of marriage, and now it was gone, swallowed by the ocean, lost in the sand. She let Robert lead her back to the car. She didn't say anything on the drive home. She couldn't. The girls were quiet in the back seat, sensing that something important had been lost. That night, Jennifer lay in bed, staring at her bare finger. The pale band of skin where the ring had been seemed to mock her. She had worn that ring through the birth of both her children. She had worn it through her father's funeral. She had worn it through job changes and moves and all of life's ups and downs, and she had lost it playing in the waves like a careless child. She cried herself to sleep that night, and when she woke up the next morning, the first thing she did was look at her empty finger. The loss hit her all over again, fresh and painful. She had no idea that at that very moment, just a few miles away, a young boy was walking toward the beach with a metal detector in his hand, ready for his usual Sunday treasure hunt. 3 blocks away from Ocean Crest Beach, in a small blue house with a white fence, 9-year-old Dylan Carter was sitting at his bedroom window, watching the clouds roll in. It was Sunday afternoon and the sky had turned gray. Most kids would be disappointed about the gloomy weather, but not Dylan. Gray skies meant fewer people at the beach, and fewer people meant more space for him to search. His metal detector was leaning against the wall next to his bed, right where he always kept it. Dylan looked at it the way some kids looked at their video game consoles or bikes. To him, that metal detector was pure magic. It had been a gift for his 9th birthday just 3 months ago, and it had changed everything. "Dylan, honey, it looks like rain," his mom called from downstairs. "Maybe today's not the best day for the beach." Dylan jumped up and ran to the top of the stairs. "Mom, please. The rain hasn't started yet. And you know what? The beach is probably empty right now. I can cover way more ground." His mother, Patricia, appeared at the bottom of the stairs, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She looked at her son's hopeful face and sighed. She knew that look. Once Dylan set his mind on something, he didn't give up easily. "Fine, but we're bringing an umbrella, and if it starts to rain, we leave immediately. Deal? Deal." Dylan was already running back to his room to grab his metal detector. Patricia smiled despite herself. Her son's treasure hunting hobby had started quite by accident. Dylan's father had bought him the metal detector on a whim, thinking it might get him outside more instead of being glued to his tablet. They had no idea it would become such a passion. Every weekend and most days after school, Dylan begged to go to the beach. At first, Patricia thought it was just a phase, but 3 months later, her son was more dedicated than ever. His room had become a mini museum of his finds. Bottle caps arranged by color, coins sorted by year, pieces of old jewelry cleaned and displayed. Even Rusty Nails had their own section because, as Dylan explained, every find tells a story, Mom. The drive to the beach only took about 5 minutes. As Dylan had predicted, the parking lot was nearly empty. Just 2 other cars, perfect. 1 hour, Patricia said as Dylan unbuckled his seatbelt. That's all we have before the rain comes. 1 hour is plenty, Dylan said, grinning. He grabbed his metal detector, his small shovel, and the canvas bag he used for his finds. The beach looked different under the gray sky. The water was dark, almost black, and the waves were bigger than usual. The wind whipped Dylan's hair around his face. He loved it. There was something exciting about the beach when it was wild like this. Stay where I can see you, Patricia called out. She settled onto a bench near the parking lot with her phone, checking the weather radar. The rain would hold off for a little while longer. Dylan started at the north end of the beach, the end that was farthest from where most people usually sat. He turned on his metal detector and listened to the familiar static hum. Then he started walking slowly, sweeping the detector from side to side in smooth arcs, just like the YouTube videos had taught him. The thing about metal detecting that Dylan loved most was the surprise of it. You never knew what you'd find. Every beep could be treasure or trash. That uncertainty, that possibility made his heart race every single time. Beep. His first signal. Dylan stopped and carefully marked the spot with his foot. He got down on his knees and started digging. 6 inches down, his fingers touched metal. He pulled out a rusty bottle cap. Not treasure, but still a find. He dropped it in his bag. Even trash finds went in the bag. Dylan believed in leaving the beach cleaner than he found it. He moved on, walking the systematic pattern he had developed over months of practice. He didn't just wander randomly. He had a system. He started at one end and worked his way across in straight lines, making sure he didn't miss any spots. Beep. A quarter. Nice. That went in a separate pocket of his bag. Beep. A pull tab from a soda can. Into the trash pocket. Beep. Half of a broken bracelet, cheap metal, probably lost last summer. Still interesting. He'd add it to his collection. Dylan had been searching for about 30 minutes when he decided to move closer to the water. This was always the best area. The tide came in and out and things got buried in the wet sand. Most people didn't search right at the water's edge because the sand was always shifting. But Dylan had learned that patience paid off in this zone. The wind was picking up now, and he could feel the first few drops of rain starting to fall. He glanced back at his mom, who was standing up from the bench, getting ready to call him back. Just a few more minutes, he thought. Just a little more time. He swept his detector over the wet sand near where the waves were breaking. Beep, beep, beep. That was a strong signal, stronger than usual. Dylan's heart started beating faster. Strong signals usually meant something bigger than a bottle cap. He dropped to his knees in the wet sand, not caring that his jeans were getting soaked. He started digging with his small plastic shovel, working quickly before the next wave came in. The sand was heavy and wet, harder to move than dry sand. 3 inches down, 4 inches, 5 inches. His shovel hit something solid, something that made a different sound than a rock or a shell. Dylan put down the shovel and used his hands, carefully scooping the wet sand away. His fingers touched something smooth and round and definitely metal. He worked it free from the sand and pulled it up into the gray light. It was a ring. Dylan sat back on his heels, staring at what he'd found. This wasn't like the cheap jewelry he usually discovered. This was different. Even covered in sand, he could tell it was real. It was gold, a yellowish gold that seemed to glow even under the cloudy sky, and there were small stones set into it. Diamonds, maybe? Dylan wasn't sure, but they caught the light in a way that made them look real. Dylan, time to go. It's starting to rain. His mother called from the parking lot, but Dylan couldn't move. He was too busy looking at the ring in his hand. This was someone's wedding ring. It had to be, and whoever lost it was probably heartbroken. A wave rushed up and splashed over his knees, soaking him completely. He quickly stood up, clutching the ring tightly in his fist. He grabbed his metal detector and shovel and ran toward his mother. "Mom! Mom, look what I found!" he shouted as he ran. Patricia's eyes widened when she saw how wet he was. "Dylan, you're soaked! Get in the car before you catch a cold." "But Mom, look." He opened his hand to show her the ring. Patricia took the ring from his palm and examined it carefully. Her expression changed from annoyance about his wet clothes to something more serious. She turned the ring over and Dylan saw her squint at something on the inside. "There's an inscription," she said quietly. "Dylan, this is someone's wedding ring. Someone lost this and they're probably devastated." "I know," Dylan said. "That's why we have to find them. We have to give it back." Patricia looked at her son with pride. Some kids might have wanted to keep such a valuable find or sell it, but not Dylan. He had always been this way. When he found a lost toy at the park, he turned it in. When he found money on the sidewalk, he asked if anyone nearby had dropped it. He was honest to his core. "Okay," she said, getting into the car. "But first let's get you home and into dry clothes. Then we'll figure out how to find the owner." On the drive home, Dylan held the ring carefully in his hand. He kept thinking about the person who lost it. Were they still searching? Had they given up hope? How long had it been in the sand? "What does the inscription say?" he asked his mother. "It says, 'Forever yours,' and then some initials and a date. 2010. So this ring has been someone's for 15 years. Dylan felt a weight settle in his chest. 15 years. That was longer than he'd been alive. This ring was important. Really important. When they got home, Patricia took a photo of the ring on their kitchen table. She posted it to the local community Facebook group, the one where neighbors shared news and asked for recommendations and sometimes helped each other find lost pets. "Found at Ocean Crest Beach today," she typed. "If this is yours, please message me privately and describe the ring and the inscription. I want to make sure it gets back to its rightful owner." She hit post and set her phone down. "Now we wait," she said to Dylan. Dylan carefully placed the ring in a small velvet pouch that his grandmother had once given him. It had held a pocket watch, but now it would protect this ring until they could return it. He set it on his dresser, right next to his collection of other finds. But this find was different. This one had to go back, and Dylan hoped more than anything that they could find the person who was missing it. He knew how he felt when he lost something important. He couldn't imagine losing something that had been worn for 15 years. That night, he thought about the ring before falling asleep. Somewhere out there, someone was probably lying awake too, thinking about what they'd lost. Dylan didn't know it yet, but that someone was lying in bed just a few miles away, staring at her empty finger, wondering if she'd ever see her ring again. Jennifer hadn't slept properly in 3 days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the moment the ring slipped off her finger. She saw it disappearing into the dark water, over and over again like a movie playing on repeat in her mind. She had gone back to the beach on Sunday morning right at dawn when the tide was at its lowest point. Robert had come with her and they had searched for 2 hours. Nothing. They had rented a metal detector from a local shop and searched for another 3 hours. Still nothing. The man at the rental shop had been kind but honest. "After a storm or high tide, things can move around a lot down there," he'd said. "Sometimes they wash up later. Sometimes they get buried deeper. It's really just luck." Luck. Jennifer didn't feel very lucky. On Monday, she had called her mother to tell her what happened. That conversation had been the hardest one of all. "Mom, I have to tell you something," Jennifer had said, her voice already shaking. "What's wrong, honey? Are the girls okay? Is Robert okay?" "Everyone's fine. It's just, Mom, I lost the ring. Grandma's ring. I lost it at the beach." There had been a long silence on the other end of the phone. Jennifer had braced herself for anger, for disappointment, for blame. But when her mother finally spoke, her voice was gentle. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. You must be heartbroken." That kindness had made Jennifer cry even harder. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I know how much it meant to you. I know Grandma wanted it to stay in the family. I ruined everything." "You didn't ruin anything," her mother had said firmly. "It's a ring, Jennifer. Yes, it's special. Yes, it carries memories. But you know what your grandmother loved most? Family, people. She would never want you to torture yourself over this. These things happen." But Jennifer couldn't stop torturing herself. The ring had become an obsession. She found herself constantly touching her bare finger, feeling for something that wasn't there anymore. She had joined every local Facebook group she could find, posting about the lost ring, offering a reward. She had checked Craigslist, eBay, local pawn shops. Nothing. By Tuesday night, she had started to accept that it was really gone. The ocean had claimed it. Maybe years from now, someone would to find it buried deep in the sand, but it wouldn't be her. That chapter was closed. She was lying in bed on Tuesday night, staring at the ceiling when her phone buzzed. It was almost 11 o'clock. Who would be texting this late? She picked up her phone and saw a message from her friend Amanda. "Are you awake?" The message read. Jennifer typed back. "Unfortunately, yes. Can't sleep." 3 dots appeared showing that Amanda was typing. Then a message came through that made Jennifer's heart stop. "I just saw something on the beach community Facebook group. Someone posted about finding a ring. I know it's a long shot, but could you check? Just in case?" Jennifer sat up so fast she made herself dizzy. Her hands were shaking as she opened Facebook and navigated to the group Amanda had mentioned. She wasn't a member of that particular group, but she could still see public posts. And there it was, a photo of a ring on a kitchen table, a gold ring with small diamonds. It was a bit blurry, taken from above, and she couldn't see the inscription. But the shape, the size, the style, it looked right. It looked like her ring. The post was from someone named Patricia. "Found at Ocean Crest Beach today," it read. "If this is yours, please message me privately and describe the ring and the inscription. I want to make sure it gets back to its rightful owner." Today, Sunday, the day after she lost it, someone had found it on Sunday. Jennifer's hands were shaking so badly she could barely type. She clicked on the Join Group button, but it said her request would need to be approved by an administrator. She couldn't wait for that. She found Patricia's profile and clicked on the message button. "Please, please, please," Jennifer whispered to herself as she typed. Her fingers kept hitting the wrong keys and she had to delete and retype several times. "Hello, my name is Jennifer Mitchell. I lost my wedding ring at Ocean Crest Beach on Saturday. I believe the ring in your photo might be mine. It's a gold band with 3 small diamonds set across the top. The inscription inside reads 'Forever Yours,' followed by the initials RM and the date May 15th, 2010. That's my husband Robert Mitchell's initials and our wedding date. This ring belonged to my grandmother and was passed down to me. I cannot tell you how much it would mean to me to get it back." She read the message 3 times, making sure she had described everything correctly. Then, holding her breath, she hit send. The message showed as sent but not seen. Patricia probably wasn't awake. It was late. Jennifer would have to wait until morning. She tried to lie back down, but it was impossible. She was wide awake now, her heart pounding. What if it wasn't her ring? What if it was just a similar-looking ring? What if someone else had already claimed it? She got out of bed and paced the bedroom. Robert stirred and opened his eyes. "Jen, what's wrong? What time is it?" "Someone found a ring at the beach." Amanda saw a post. "I messaged the person, but they haven't responded yet." "Robert, what if it's my ring? What if we actually get it back?" Robert sat up, suddenly alert. "Wait, slow down. What post? Let me see." Jennifer showed him the photo on her phone. Robert zoomed in on the picture, squinting at the screen. "That could be it. The diamonds look right, but we can't see the inscription." "I know. That's why she's asking people to describe it. To make sure it goes back to the right person." "Robert, what if this is real? What if we actually get it back?" "Let's not get our hopes up too high," Robert said, but Jennifer could hear the hope in his voice too. "We'll know more in the morning," when she responds. Morning felt like it would never come. Jennifer dozed off sometime around 2 in the morning, but she woke up again at 5. The first thing she did was check her phone. No response. She checked again at 6. Nothing. At 7, she gave up on sleeping and went downstairs to make coffee. The girls were still asleep. Robert came down a few minutes later, also checking his phone. "Anything?" he asked. Jennifer shook her head. At 8:30, while Jennifer was helping Lily find her homework folder, her phone buzzed. She nearly dropped it in her rush to check. A message from Patricia. "Good morning, Jennifer. Based on your description, I believe this is your ring. My son Dylan found it yesterday afternoon near the water. We wanted to make sure it got back to its rightful owner. Would you be able to meet us today to pick it up? We could meet somewhere public like the coffee shop on Main Street if that works for you." Jennifer read the message 3 times to make sure she wasn't imagining it. Then she read it out loud to Robert. Then she started crying. "Is it Grandma's ring? Did they find it?" Lily asked, appearing in the doorway with her backpack. "I think so, baby. I think they really found it." Sophie came running when she heard the commotion. Both girls hugged their mother, even though they didn't fully understand why she was crying. Jennifer composed herself enough to type a response. Yes, absolutely. I can meet you today. Any time that works for you. The coffee shop on Main Street is perfect. I cannot thank you enough. You have no idea what this means to me. Patricia responded quickly. How about 11 o'clock? And please, no need to thank us. We're just happy we could help. My son Dylan has been so excited to return it to you. He was the one who found it, Dylan. A child had found her ring. A child who could have kept it, could have sold it, could have done anything with it. But instead, he wanted to return it. Jennifer messaged back confirming 11 o'clock, then immediately started getting ready. She changed her outfit 3 times, which was ridiculous because she was just going to a coffee shop. But this felt important, monumental. Robert had to work, but he made her promise to call him the second she confirmed it was the real ring. The girls wanted to come, but Jennifer explained that they had school. But I'll bring it home and show you right after school, I promise. She arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. She ordered a tea she didn't drink and sat at a table by the window, watching every car that pulled into the parking lot. Her leg bounced up and down nervously. What if she had described it wrong? What if it wasn't hers after all? At exactly 11 o'clock, a woman walked in with a boy who looked about 9 years old. The boy was carrying a small velvet pouch. Jennifer knew somehow that this was them. She stood up and the woman smiled at her. Jennifer? Yes, Patricia. They shook hands, and then Jennifer looked down at the boy. He had freckles across his nose and bright, intelligent eyes. He was holding the pouch carefully like it contained something precious. This is my son, Dylan, Patricia said. Dylan, this is Jennifer. Hi, Dylan said shyly. Then, without any more ceremony, he opened the velvet pouch and held it out to her. I think this is yours. Jennifer's hands were shaking as she took the ring from the pouch. The moment she saw the inscription on the inside, tears flooded her eyes. Forever yours RMs 0515-2010, it was hers. It was really, truly hers. She slipped it onto her finger where it belonged, where it had been for 15 years. And then she did something she hadn't planned. She dropped to her knees and pulled Dylan into a hug. Dylan wasn't sure what to do when Jennifer hugged him. Adults didn't usually hug him unless they were family. But he could feel her shaking and he realized she was crying. So he hugged her back, awkwardly patting her shoulder the way his mom did when he was upset. Thank you, Jennifer kept saying, over and over. Thank you so much. You have no idea. You have no idea what this means to me. Patricia felt her own eyes getting wet. She had known the ring was important. But seeing this woman's reaction made her understand just how much. This wasn't just about a piece of jewelry. This was about something deeper. Jennifer finally pulled back, wiping her eyes with her hands. She laughed a little, embarrassed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to fall apart like that. It's just, I've been so upset. I thought it was gone forever. Don't apologize, Patricia said, handing her a napkin from the table. I think I'd react the same way if I lost something that important. Jennifer looked down at the ring on her finger, touching it gently like she needed to make sure it was real. It was my grandmother's. She wore it for almost 50 years. Then she gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me on my wedding day. It's been in my family for 3 generations. Dylan's eyes widened. 3 generations. That was a long time, longer than his whole family had lived in their house. Longer than his school had existed. He was glad now more than ever that he had found it and returned it. Your son is remarkable, Jennifer said, looking at Dylan. Most kids wouldn't have done what you did. Most people wouldn't have done what you did. Dylan felt his face get hot. He wasn't used to compliments like that. It didn't feel right to keep it. I knew someone was probably really sad about losing it. Really sad doesn't even begin to cover it, Jennifer said. I haven't slept in 3 days. I've been back to that beach 5 times searching. I called every pawn shop in the county. I joined every Facebook group I could find. I even considered hiring someone with professional metal detecting equipment. Patricia smiled at her son. She had raised him to be honest and kind, but you never really knew if those lessons stuck until moments like this, and here was proof that they had. Jennifer reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. I want to give you a reward. I posted on all those Facebook groups that I was offering $500 to anyone who found my ring. That's yours, Dylan. You earned it. Dylan looked at the envelope, then at his mother. Patrick. She shook her head slightly. We can't accept that, Patricia said gently. Dylan didn't find your ring for money. He found it because that's what he does. He searches the beach for treasures, and when he finds something valuable that belongs to someone else, he returns it. That's just the right thing to do. But I want to give you something, Jennifer insisted. You've given me back something irreplaceable. Please let me do this. Dylan looked at the envelope again. $500 was a lot of money. He could buy so many things with $500. A new video game console, a better metal detector. He could save it for college like his parents were always talking about. But something inside him, something he couldn't quite name, told him that taking the money would make this different. It would make it feel like a transaction instead of what it really was, a person helping another person, the way people were supposed to help each other. "I don't want the money," Dylan said quietly. "I'm just happy you got your ring back." Jennifer looked stunned. She glanced at Patricia, who was looking at her son with obvious pride. "Are you sure?" "Dylan, that's very generous, but this is a substantial amount of money." "I'm sure," Dylan said more confidently now. "My mom and I help people because it's the right thing to do, not because we get paid for it." Jennifer put the envelope back in her purse slowly. She was quiet for a moment, and both Patricia and Dylan wondered if they had offended her. But when she looked up, she was smiling. "You know what? Your parents raised an incredible young man," she said. "The world needs more people like you, Dylan." They sat down at the table together, and Jennifer ordered hot chocolate for Dylan and coffee for Patricia. She wanted to hear the whole story of how he found the ring. Dylan told her about his metal detecting hobby, about his collection at home, about how he goes to the beach almost every day after school. "So, you were there on Sunday, the day after I lost it?" Jennifer asked. "Yeah. It was cloudy and looked like rain, so the beach was pretty empty. That's actually the best time to search because there aren't many people around. And you just found it just like that?" "Well, it took about 30 minutes of searching. I work in a pattern, you know? I start at one end and go in straight lines so I don't miss anything. And I always check near the water because that's where the good stuff usually is." Jennifer shook her head in amazement. "I was there that same day at dawn, with a rented metal detector. How did I miss it?" "The tide moves things around a lot," Dylan explained. "Maybe it was buried deeper when you were there, and then the waves shifted the sand and brought it closer to the surface. Or maybe I was just in the right spot at the right time." "I think you were exactly where you were supposed to be," Jennifer said softly. They talked for almost an hour. Dylan told her about all his best finds, about the time he found a class ring from 1987 and managed to track down the owner through the school name engraved on it, about the old coins he'd found that turned out to be from the 1950s, about the sense of purpose he felt when he could return something valuable to its owner. Jennifer told them about her grandmother, about how she had fled Europe during the war with nothing but that ring and a small suitcase, about how it had survived everything her family had been through, about what it meant to her to have it on her finger again. Patricia found herself tearing up again. This was more than just a lost and found story. This was about connections, about kindness, about a 9-year-old boy who somehow understood that doing the right thing was more valuable than any reward. When they finally stood up to leave, Jennifer hugged Dylan again. This time he hugged her back without hesitation. "Can I ask you for one thing?" Jennifer said. "Not money, just one small thing." "Sure," Dylan said. "Can I take a picture of the two of us together? I want to remember this day. I want to remember the boy who gave me back my grandmother's ring." Dylan nodded, and Patricia took several photos of them together on Jennifer's phone. In the pictures, Dylan was smiling shyly, and Jennifer had her arm around his shoulders, her left hand prominently displayed with the ring catching the light. As they walked toward their cars, Jennifer called out one more time. "Dylan?" He turned around. "Don't ever stop doing what you're doing. The world needs treasure hunters like you, real treasure hunters, the kind who understand that the greatest treasure is making someone else happy." Dylan waved and got into his mother's car. On the drive home, he was quieter than usual. "You okay, sweetheart?" Patricia asked. "Yeah," he said. "I was just thinking. Finding that ring and giving it back felt better than keeping any of the stuff in my collection." "Is that weird?" Patricia smiled. "That's not weird at all. That's called having a good heart." That night, Jennifer called her mother and told her everything. She called Robert at work, unable to wait until he got home. She showed the girls the ring the moment they got off the school bus, and they danced around the kitchen together in celebration. But something was bothering her. Dylan had given her back something precious, and she had given him nothing in return. The hot chocolate didn't count. She wanted to do something meaningful, something that would matter. She thought about it all evening, and finally an idea came to her. She opened her laptop and started typing. She wrote about losing the ring, about the desperate search, about the boy who found it and refused a reward. She wrote about his kindness, his integrity, his pure and simple goodness. She wrote about how he had restored her faith in humanity. She posted the story on Facebook, tagging the local news station and several community pages. She shared it on Twitter and Instagram. She wanted people to know about Dylan. She wanted the world to know that heroes come in all sizes, even 9-year-old sizes with metal detectors and sandy sneakers. "What are you doing?" Robert asked, looking over her shoulder. "Something I should have done the moment he gave it back," Jennifer said. "I'm telling his story." She hit the post button and closed her laptop, not expecting much. Maybe a few friends would like it. Maybe a couple dozen people would read it. That would be enough. Dylan deserved to be recognized even if he didn't want money. What Jennifer didn't know, couldn't have predicted, was what would happen next. Her simple story about a lost ring and a kind child was about to reach far beyond her circle of friends. By morning, everything would be different. Jennifer woke up the next morning to her phone buzzing nonstop. At first, she thought something was wrong. Maybe someone had died. Maybe there was an emergency. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand, still half asleep, and saw that she had over 300 notifications. 300. She sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. Her Facebook post about Dylan had been shared over 1,000 times. People were commenting, tagging friends, sharing it to their own pages. The local news station had commented asking if they could interview her. So had 2 other news stations, and a radio show, and something called a podcast network. "Robert," she said, shaking her husband's shoulder. "Robert, wake up. Something's happening." He groaned and rolled over. "What time is it?" 7:30. "But look at this." She showed him her phone. Robert's eyes widened as he scrolled through the notifications. "This is crazy. Your post went viral." "I didn't mean for this to happen," Jennifer said, suddenly worried. "I just wanted people in our community to know about Dylan. Do you think his mother will be upset?" As if in answer to her question, her phone rang. It was Patricia. "Hello?" Jennifer answered nervously. "Jennifer, hi. I hope I'm not calling too early. Have you seen what's happening online?" "I just woke up to it." "Patricia, I'm so sorry. I didn't think it would blow up like this. I just wanted to share Dylan's story with some friends." To her surprise, Patricia laughed. "Don't apologize. This is amazing." Dylan woke up to messages from kids at his school saying he's famous. The principal called and asked if Dylan would be willing to speak at an assembly about kindness and integrity. And Channel 7 News wants to do a story about him. "Are you okay with all of this?" Jennifer asked. "I can delete the post if you want." "Are you kidding? This is wonderful. Dylan needs to see that doing the right thing matters. That kindness matters. Too many kids these days think being tough or cool is what's important. But you've shown him that the world notices when someone does something good." They talked for a few more minutes, and Patricia mentioned that a reporter from Channel 7 wanted to interview both families together, if Jennifer was willing. They agreed to do it that evening at the beach where everything had happened. By lunchtime, Jennifer's post had been shared over 5,000 times. A national morning show had picked up the story. Newspapers from 3 different states had called asking for interviews. Someone had even created a hashtag, "Treasure Hunter Hero Dylan's School Day was Surreal." Kids who had never talked to him before were coming up to him at lunch. "Dude, you're famous," they kept saying. His teacher had shown the class Jennifer's post and led a discussion about integrity and doing the right thing. But the weirdest part was how it made Dylan feel. He was happy that people thought what he did was good, but he also felt a little uncomfortable with all the attention. He hadn't returned the ring to become famous. He had done it because it was the right thing to do. Now everyone was treating him like some kind of hero, and he wasn't sure he liked it. "You okay?" his friend Kevin asked during recess. "You seem quiet." "I guess I just don't get why everyone's making such a big deal," Dylan said. "I just gave someone back their ring." "That's normal, right?" "That's what anyone would do," Kevin shook his head. "Dude, my brother found a $20 bill at the mall last year and kept it. Most people would have kept that ring or sold it. You gave it back and didn't even take the reward. That's not normal. That's special." Maybe Kevin was right. Maybe what seemed normal to Dylan wasn't actually that common. The thought made him a little sad. Shouldn't everyone try to help each other? That evening, both families met at Ocean Crest Beach for the interview with Channel 7 News. The reporter was a friendly woman named Michelle who had 2 kids of her own. She set up the interview right near the water, at the spot where Dylan had found the ring. "So Dylan," Michelle said, holding a microphone. Take me through what happened that day. How did you find the ring? Dylan explained his metal detecting routine, how he had gotten a strong signal, how he had dug through the wet sand. The camera followed him as he demonstrated his technique, sweeping an imaginary detector over the sand. And when you realized it was a wedding ring, what went through your mind? I just thought about how sad the person must be, Dylan said honestly. Like, if I lost something really important to me, I'd want someone to give it back. Your mother posted about the ring on Facebook. Did you ever think about keeping it? Dylan shook his head. No, it wasn't mine. That would be stealing. Michelle turned to Jennifer. And Jennifer, what went through your mind when you got the message that someone had found your ring? Jennifer touched the ring on her finger. I couldn't believe it. I had given up hope. I thought it was gone forever. And then this amazing child found it and wanted nothing except to return it to me. It restored my faith in humanity. You offered Dylan a $500 reward, correct? I did. And he refused it. Michelle turned back to Dylan, clearly impressed. Why did you refuse the reward? Dylan thought about it for a moment. Because it would have felt wrong. Like I only helped because I wanted money. But that's not why I did it. I helped because helping people feels good. Better than keeping the money would feel. The camera operator gave a thumbs up. Even the tough news crew seemed moved by Dylan's words. After the interview, as the sun started to set over the ocean, both families walked along the beach together. Lily and Sophie, Jennifer's daughters, walked with Dylan, asking him questions about metal detecting and treasure hunting. Do you ever find pirate treasure? Sophie asked, her eyes wide. Dylan laughed. Not yet, but I'll keep looking. Can we go treasure hunting with you sometime? Lily asked. Sure, Dylan said. It's more fun with other people anyway. Jennifer watched them walk ahead and felt her throat get tight with emotion. A week ago, she had been devastated, crying in these same waves, thinking she had lost something irreplaceable. And now here she was, her ring back on her finger, watching her daughters make a new friend with the boy who had saved the day. You raised a remarkable son, she said to Patricia. So did you, Patricia replied, nodding toward Lily and Sophie. They're kind and curious and enthusiastic about life. That's not easy to do. I think we both got lucky, Jennifer said. The news story aired that night and was picked up by the national news the next morning. Within a week, Dylan's story had been seen by millions of people. He got letters from all over the country. One was from a woman in Oregon who said his story inspired her son to start volunteering at a local food bank. Another was from a retired teacher who said she showed the story to her grandson to teach him about integrity. A metal detector company sent Dylan a professional grade detector, top of the line, worth over $1,000. For the treasure hunter with a heart of gold, the note said. A publishing company reached out about turning his story into a children's book. Someone started a scholarship fund in his name for kids who demonstrate exceptional character. But the thing that meant the most to Dylan was simpler. A few weeks after the story went viral, he was at the beach with his new metal detector. He was searching his usual pattern when he saw an elderly couple approaching him. Excuse me, the man said. Are you Dylan? The boy from the news? Dylan nodded, a little shy. I just wanted to shake your hand, the man said. You reminded me that there are still good people in the world. At my age, it's easy to get cynical, but you gave me hope. The woman with him smiled and patted Dylan's shoulder. Keep being exactly who you are, young man. Don't let the world change that. They walked away, and Dylan stood there for a moment, his metal detector in his hand, the ocean breeze ruffling his hair. He thought about everything that had happened. The ring, the reunion, the news stories, the attention. But what he'd remember most was the look on Jennifer's face when she slipped that ring back on her finger, the pure joy and relief, the way she had hugged him like he had given her back something precious. Because he had, that was the real treasure, not the things he found in the sand, but the happiness he could bring to other people. And that was something no metal detector could ever find. It came from somewhere deeper, somewhere that his parents had helped him nurture, somewhere that would guide him for the rest of his life. He turned his metal detector back on and continued his search. Because who knew? Maybe today he'd find something else that belonged to someone. Maybe today he'd get to make someone else's day a little brighter. And really, what could be better than that?